main focus of my range time today is to get this 1761, the numbers of which I always keep getting wrong. They're all 1761s, the new Anschuts. Main focus today is to get the gun zeroed, running a little bit, get some preliminary velocities on it. I'll then take it home, give it a good clean. It'll come back probably next week at some point, or if I go out shooting tonight, it'll get used for real. Next week back on the chronograph again, because I want to see how the velocities have altered, if any accuracy's shifted significantly, because the first cleaning patches through the barrel virtually always show significant amounts of copper fragments from both the bullet itself and the jacket, the brass case. Now, I'm also keen to check on the functionality of the bolt, protrusion of the firing pin. Just decock that one there. Sharp little firing pin on this one. Ease of things like taking the bolt in and out. And there's also the ease of use of the magazine. This one's a steel magazine on the Anschuts. It's a 5-rounder. It's got this, still got quite a long polymer base on it, and the release button is to the rear of the magazine in the front of the trigger guard. Factors like how the case feeds, manipulation of the bolt. Of course, everybody's going to be interested by the trigger. Being an Anschutz, it's an adjustable trigger. It is a good trigger. I'll leave the jury out on that one until it's had a few more rounds, just to bed in slightly. But anyway, let's take another group. I'm going to go with 17 grain VMAX. Preliminaries say that this is the one it favoured a little better, but as always with 17 HMR, bit of blustery wind knocking around soon just opens things up a bit. I've heard of so many reliable half-inch 17 HMRs every day of the week, and although I don't disagree they exist, I'd love to see one. I'd love to shoot one myself, because I don't know, I must have tested 20 over the last 7 or 8 years, and they all shoot well. Some of them shoot better than others, but they're all limited by the consistency of rimfire ammunition. And let's face it, when we're talking centerfire supreme accuracy, we're always discussing hand loads, generally speaking. Why do we do that? Because hand loads, we're at complete fault for any inconsistencies. And rimfire, it's made by the billion. We have no control over it. So I don't think it's unfair to blame the ammunition for often being the slight downside in ultimate consistency. Another interesting thing to point out with 17 HMR specifically is the bullet shape. Now, the left one is the VMAX, 17 grains. It's used in all sorts of different ammunition, but fundamentally the bullet's the same. This is the 20 grain XTP, which is a hollow point. Sometimes, I've never had a 17 HMR that won't feed the 17 VMAX with a sharp polymer tip, but I would say maybe 50% of them struggle with the flatter nose of the XTP. In the past, I've generally always found the XTP shoots a little bit better. I think it's made in slightly smaller quantities, probably far smaller quantities, and maybe benefits from slightly better consistency of quality control. But sometimes they just won't feed, because the design of the gun requires that there's that very, very sharp sloping point to feed the bullet into the ramp and into the chamber. And of course, if it butts up against the back of the barrel, you might skim over it, you might damage the bullet tip from a plat, and it just won't feed. Anyway, this Anschutz, no problem at all so far. So let's have a go. Slight snag on that one. Now, if you remember, we're at primary zero stage today. We are within the red spot on the paper. I'm just going to give it a few more clicks to the left, which is for on this optic. It's a Vortex. It's Vortex 5 for 4-16. Consistently adjustable dials, not turrets, but the dials. Parallax adjustment, magnification adjustment, fast focus eyepiece. It's simple, it's straightforward to use. Fairly simple duplex reticle with a few hash marks on it. It does what it says on the tin, as generally Vortex do. They're not the best optics in the world, but they don't lie to you, and when you buy one it does exactly what it says it will do, and it also has an extremely good warranty should it not do. Some may say you don't want the warranty, you want a scope that's engineered around not needing a warranty, but it's a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Shoot these last 5 out of this box. I've got to mention at this point that Hornady and Edgar Brothers, their UK agent, supply me copious quantities of ammunition for all my test rifles. There are a few other manufacturers that supply ammunition too, but by far and away the most comes from Hornady. I rely on it and I'm very thankful for it, so thank you to Edgar Brothers, thank you to Hornady. Those tiny little bullet holes are only about 4mm in diameter after a 4.5mm bullet goes through them. They're quite difficult to see on target. I can just about see them, I think they're just slightly low right in the pack. But I'm not going to get too fussy over a specific zero in chasing those individual bullets until the gun's well run in. Given the low velocities, small bullet, the low powder charges, and the generally gentle approach the 17 has on the steel of its barrel, I think they take at least 100 to 200 rounds before they really start to settle down and produce the best quality velocities, groups and consistency. But I'm very happy with this so far because it's done nothing that I wouldn't have expected, and everything that Anschutz are famous for, die Meistermacher as their name says, is proven. Precision made, handles beautifully, bolt to bolt is excellent, the trigger is very crisp, bolt stroke really is fingertip. This one's got an 11mm regular airgun or rimfire scope set of scope dovetails. I have actually been supplied another one that's got a Picatinny rail on as well, but the Picatinny rail is quite deep. And the downside with the deep tip Picatinny rail is, yes, it's great for mounting all sorts of options like night vision, etc. But you need low rings, and the problem with low rings is that low rings bring the the ocular scope body close to that rail. With it being a short rimfire too, the scope's quite a long way forward, and unfortunately with a very thick rail, the ocular body can contact, especially the zoom magnification control, can contact the back of that rail, and it's a bit of a no-go. So if you do go for a Picatinny rail, make sure it's nice and thin. This is the 20 grain XTP now. I'm just going to shoot a different target. That group's just dropped off the bottom of the patch, but with it being different bullet ammunition entirely, it doesn't surprise me at all. It's not specifically to do with velocity, although velocity is about 175 feet per second lower on the slightly heavier bullet. It's less to do with velocity and more to do with barrel harmonics. But that's just at the zeroing stage. When extended ranges come in, velocity is considered, ballistic coefficients are considered, changes the market a lot. But at zeroing distances, it's rarely velocity, it's more specifically down to the barrel harmonics. I'm going to go down and check those targets now. Gun's clear.